It's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you are joining MS Now's ongoing coverage of the United States having apparently started a war with Iran for some reason. Your guess, your personal guess, sitting at home watching me right now, your personal guess is as good as any as to why the President of the United States has just started this war. In terms of pure rational deduction about what he is doing here.
The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Missiles are crossing the night sky over Dubai. The Fairmont Hotel on the Palm Jumeirah is on fire. 1/5 of the world's oil supply has just been severed from the global market in a single night. And the United States Congress did not authorize a single one of those consequences. The president acted alone. We begin the record precisely there. Not with history, not with context, with the moment an American president ordered bombers into the skies over Tehran without a vote, without a debate, and without the legal authority to do so. Here, play this clip.
President Trump receiving pushback this morning for carrying out strikes against Iran without authorization from Congress. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky condemned it as, quote, acts of war unauthorized by Congress. Senator Mark Warner, the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said that not only did Trump act beyond his presidential authority, but he's put American lives at risk. Warner wrote in a statement, quote, how does this make America safer? By the president's own words, American heroes may be lost. That alone should have demanded the highest level of scrutiny, deliberation, and accountability, yet the president moved forward without seeking congressional authorization. The Constitution is clear. The decision to take this nation to war rests with Congress and launching large-scale military operations, end quote.
What follows is a documented account of what was claimed, what the evidence proves, and what has now been set in motion with no legal mechanism to stop it. The President of the United States released a pre-recorded video message at 2:30 in the morning. He was wearing a baseball cap and a suit jacket. His eyes were obscured by the brim of that oversized white hat. Here, play this clip.
Because, as the president said today in his weird pre-recorded video message in a baseball hat and a suit jacket that the White House released at 2:30 in the morning, the president said in that stilted, strange statement, squinting at the camera with his eyes shaded by the gigantic white hat he was wearing, he said that he's doing this because he wants the people of Iran to rise up and overthrow their despotic government at his instruction.
In a stilted, carefully rehearsed statement, he offered the American people 3 separate justifications for the airstrikes already underway. First, he claimed Iran posed an imminent nuclear threat requiring immediate preemptive action. Second, he claimed he was acting to stop an industrial-grade nuclear program from reaching completion. Third, he told the Iranian people to take control of their own government, framing this military operation as a humanitarian effort to liberate a people from despotism. Those 3 justifications are not a matter of interpretation. They are not a question of emphasis or perspective. They are demonstrably, forensically false. And the evidence disproving them comes not from opposition politicians or hostile foreign governments. It comes from the president's own administration. The forensic examination begins with the nuclear threat. The claim is that Iran is days away from weapons-grade material. That is the justification for urgency. That is the reason the administration argues Congress could not be consulted. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a press conference in St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday. Marco Rubio is the president's own Secretary of State. Here, play this clip.
That suggests even that they are doing that. But even the Trump administration says explicitly that that is not happening. Marco Rubio on Wednesday at a press conference in St. Kitts and Nevis told reporters, quote, they are not enriching right now. So why is this happening? Have we just started a war with Iran because they have got some advanced nuclear program that's rushing toward a bomb?
At that press conference, Rubio told assembled reporters that Iran is not enriching right now. Not next week, not 1 week away, not currently enriching. That single statement, made by the chief diplomat of the United States government, demolishes the foundational premise of this war. The timeline offered by Steve Witkoff, the president's real estate associate, a man with no diplomatic credentials who has somehow been deputized as a lead negotiator with a sovereign nuclear power, was 1 week away from industrial-grade uranium enrichment. 1 week. That was the emergency. But the Secretary of State, in the same news cycle, confirmed that enrichment is not happening. The contradiction is not subtle. It is absolute. The claim that justified bypassing Congress cannot coexist with the admission that no active enrichment is occurring. The ballistic threat collapses under the same scrutiny. The administration implies a danger to the American homeland. Iran does not possess intercontinental ballistic missiles. They do not have the delivery systems required to reach the United States. No credible intelligence assessment has suggested they are anywhere near acquiring that technology. The threat to the American homeland is not a credible military reality. And the humanitarian justification? The claim that this war is being fought for the Iranian people? The evidence directly inverts that argument. If you want a civilian population to organize against a suffocating security apparatus, you give them communication. The internet in Iran went dark the night the bombs fell. The Iranian people cannot reach each other or the outside world. You do not gut the communications infrastructure built specifically to reach them. Here, play this clip. But the Trump administration defunded and dismantled Voice of America's Farsi language broadcasting platform, handing the operation to a soft-focused local news anchor with no relevant experience. And when the president recorded that 2:30 morning video calling on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard to lay down their weapons, he provided no pathway, no contact, no mechanism for surrender. There is no evidence of a humanitarian strategy. There is evidence of a performance designed to look like one. That performance raises a question that forensic analysis is equipped to answer. Cui bono? Who benefits from an Iran stripped of regional military credibility? The Gulf Arab states have been systematically funding the Trump family with an amount of money that is not a coincidence and not a rounding error. Qatar gave the president a $400 million aircraft for personal use. The United Arab Emirates structured a transaction worth $2 billion into the Trump family's cryptocurrency firm. Saudi Arabia placed $2 billion into a fund managed by the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. In the weeks before this war started, Kushner sat alongside Witkoff in the Iranian negotiations. Witkoff had been in Qatar seeking capital from their sovereign wealth fund. The Secretary of State was not leading these discussions. The confirmed, Senate-ratified diplomatic apparatus of the United States was not in the room. The president's family was. The financial architecture around these military decisions is not circumstantial. It is a documented exchange. The Gulf states, who have long sought to neutralize Iran's regional power, transferred billions of dollars to the Trump family. The Trump administration then deployed the United States military against Iran's capital city. The money moved before the missiles did. That is the record. This consolidation of authority extends beyond financial arrangements. The president controls the most lethal military apparatus in human history. That power has always been checked by the legislature, constrained by law, and moderated by the professional advisory architecture of the State Department, the Joint Chiefs, and the intelligence community. In this instance, none of those constraints functioned. He did not address the nation from the Oval Office. He recorded a taped message in a baseball cap and a suit jacket at 2:30 in the morning. That choice was not accidental or careless. It demonstrated something deliberate, that he does not require the traditional ceremonies of democratic accountability to order military action. He views those ceremonies as optional theater. He views the consultation of Congress as negotiable. He has outsourced the entire diplomatic apparatus to unelected family members while bypassing the State Department, the Pentagon's advisory structure, and every formal channel built over 70 years of American foreign policy governance. The National Security Council was not the driving force. The Joint Chiefs were not the driving voice. A real estate developer with access to Gulf sovereign wealth funds and a son-in-law whose business interests are directly tied to the same Gulf states were the architects of this military moment. Representative Adam Smith confirmed that the president was significantly pressured by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who wanted American participation in what Israel framed as a defining regional military opportunity. The president allowed a foreign head of government and unconfirmed family members with undisclosed financial entanglements to shape the deployment of American military assets. Every layer of institutional distance between private financial interest and military command authority has been deliberately and systematically removed. What remains is a single executive, answerable to no one, commanding the most powerful military in human history on behalf of patrons who paid for the privilege. We must now confront the defense argument directly, because intellectual honesty requires it. The strongest case available to the administration is this: The 2001 Authorization for Use of Military Force grants the president broad authority to act against state sponsors of terrorism without additional congressional approval. They will argue Iran sponsors terrorism. They will argue precedent exists. They will cite actions taken by previous presidents of both parties who use military force without explicit congressional votes. That is the argument. Here is why it fails. The 2001 Authorization for Use of Military Force was written to address a specific threat: Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, the perpetrators of the September 11th attacks. While subsequent administrations stretched its application to cover ISIS and affiliated groups, no credible legal authority has ever successfully argued it authorizes open military conflict against the government of a sovereign nation-state like Iran. The text of the resolution does not support that reading. Congress never voted to authorize this specific Iranian military expedition. The president never asked them to. The self-defense argument fails on its own terms. Representative Adam Smith, the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, was explicitly asked whether any new intelligence prompted this action. His answer was unambiguous. There was no new intelligence. No imminent attack was stopped. No threat was interdicted. The president did not notify Congress before the strikes, which the War Powers Resolution requires. Without a credible imminent threat, without congressional notification, and without any authorization covering this specific conflict, the legal defense dissolves. Now the authorities stack. These are not television commentators. These are the elected and credentialed constitutional officers of the United States government, the individuals with statutory oversight responsibility for exactly this kind of decision. Representative Adam Smith, ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, with decades of intelligence and military oversight experience. He stated explicitly that this offensive use of military force against Iran, absent congressional authorization, is contrary to both domestic and international law. Representative Chrissy Houlihan serves on both the House Armed Services Committee and the House Intelligence Committee. She is a veteran of the United States Air Force. She served in Desert Storm. Her assessment: there is absolutely nothing that has changed that would authorize the president to unilaterally take the action that he did. Senator Mark Warner is the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He reviews the most highly classified intelligence in the nation. He confirmed the president acted beyond his presidential authority and placed American lives at risk without legal justification. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky, a member of the president's own party, condemned the operation and called the strikes acts of war unauthorized by Congress. These officials do not share a party or a political agenda. They share an assessment, and that assessment is unanimous. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution is unambiguous. Only Congress has the power to declare war. The founders made that choice deliberately. They had witnessed what single executives with unchecked military authority produced. They did not want a king. They stripped the power to start wars from the presidency precisely because they understood that financial interest, vanity, and political pressure could corrupt a single person's judgment in ways that a deliberative body could check. The War Powers Resolution reinforced that boundary. A preemptive military strike against a sovereign nation is an act of war. Launching missiles at Tehran, targeting the residences of a sitting head of state and supreme leader without a congressional vote is a direct and unambiguous violation of the Constitution of the United States. Now, with the law established and the authority confirmed, a professional judgment on fitness becomes unavoidable rather than asserted. In 2011, 2012, and 2013, Donald Trump publicly and repeatedly accused President Barack Obama of planning to start a war with Iran for domestic political purposes. He said Obama would do it to put wind in his political sails ahead of an election. He said it multiple times. Obama did not do it. But those statements reveal the exact logic Donald Trump applies to military force. He thinks about war as a political instrument. He thinks about it as a distraction, as a spectacle, as a mechanism for changing the subject when domestic circumstances become dangerous. The domestic circumstances around this president are severe. His approval ratings are at historic lows. His legislative agenda faces serious resistance. The New York Times editorial board noted this week that in his second term, his appetite for military intervention grows with the eating. He did not make his case to the nation with solemnity. He recorded a video in a baseball hat at 2:30 in the morning. A president who launches an unauthorized war while his family collects billions from the countries that benefit most from that war, and who does it without alerting Congress, has demonstrated a failure not just of legal compliance, but of the most basic moral standard attached to the office of Commander-in-Chief. Representative Smith confirmed that Iran retains a massive arsenal of missiles and drones in the south of the country that have not been struck. Those weapons are fully capable of targeting American military personnel stationed in Bahrain, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, and Syria. The president put those service members in the path of retaliation without their government's authorization and without a strategy that any credentialed military or diplomatic official has publicly defended. The institutions designed to stop this have not functioned. A war powers resolution directing the president to terminate military hostilities against Iran was introduced by Congressman Ro Khanna and Congressman Thomas Massie. A vote was scheduled. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson canceled it, then canceled the Friday session, then canceled the Tuesday session, then canceled the following Friday. The Speaker is using the procedural authority of his office not to govern, but to prevent the House of Representatives from exercising its constitutional oversight function. He is not blocking a bad bill. He is blocking a vote. He is blocking the legislature from doing the precise thing the Constitution designed it to do when a president overreaches. The Department of Justice cannot prosecute a sitting president for a constitutional war powers violation. The federal courts historically declined to intervene in active military deployments, classifying them as political questions beyond their jurisdiction. The Supreme Court has consistently refused to adjudicate live wartime decisions. Those escape hatches were built into the system deliberately because the founders assumed Congress would act. The founders assumed the legislature would not simply look away when a president started a war without authorization. That assumption has not held. The Republican leadership in the House has not merely failed to act, it has actively prevented action. Mike Johnson is not a passive bystander to this constitutional breach. He is a participant in it. By locking the doors, he has made the House of Representatives complicit in the most consequential, unauthorized military action in modern American history. The only institution with actual power to stop this war is the one whose leadership has decided that stopping it is not in their political interest. The consequences are already in motion, and they are no longer theoretical. Iran has launched what it describes as a crushing response. Multiple waves of missiles and drones have struck American military installations in the region. Rockets have landed in Saudi Arabia and Jordan. One has landed in Syria. The Strait of Hormuz is closed to all commercial shipping, removing 1/5 of global oil supply from international markets instantaneously. Civilian airspace across the Middle East is closed. Flights from Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, and Qatar are canceled. Residents of Dubai are loading cars with cash and water and driving into the desert. The Fairmont Hotel on the Palm Jumeirah is on fire. American casualties are anticipated. The region is in active military escalation. There is no authorization for this war. There is no exit strategy on record. There is no diplomatic channel currently operational that was not managed by the president's son-in-law or his real estate associate. There is no legal mechanism in place to end what has been started. The law has been broken. The institutions have not held. And 92 million people living inside one of the world's most capable asymmetric military powers are now on the other side of an unauthorized American military action with every legitimate reason to respond. The Fairmont Hotel is still burning. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Energy markets have already begun pricing in a conflict with no defined end. This is where the record stands tonight. Not prediction, not opinion. Documented fact. Before we close, one quick clarification. Everything presented in this script is drawn from publicly available information, including official press conferences, congressional testimony, published reporting, and on-record statements by named government officials. This script does not constitute legal advice, is not a call to action of any kind, and does not advocate for any political party or electoral outcome. Reasonable people can examine the same documented record and reach different conclusions about context, intent, and consequence. That disagreement is legitimate and welcome. What is offered here is one structured analysis of the public record as it currently stands. If this kind of serious, documented examination of consequential decisions is what you come here for, we would be grateful for your subscription, and we would genuinely welcome your thoughts in the comments below.